This is obviously not a Steam Deck, so what the you thought you clicked on a Steam Deck video? Well, you were right, I just don't own a Steam Deck, so that is my quick disclaimer. Everything in this video is still valid though, I'm mostly talking about the specs and performance and price and everything else. This is the Steam Deck LCD, which at the time of recording is 20% off its usual price. This is the second time it's been on sale in the last few months, but even if you're watching in the future when it's not on sale, then you can just wait for a refurbished model to come back in stock. And Valve's refurbished Steam Decks are refurbished so well that they're practically new. Anyway, let's actually get this video started. The way we're going to decide which Steam Deck you should buy is by comparing them in 5 different categories: display, battery, performance, price, and sale refurbished price, because that's a 20% discount and kind of changes everything. There will be timestamps in the description if you want to skip around, but in return I expect a like as payment. Starting with the display, the OLED Steam Deck is objectively better in every single way I can think of. The original LCD is 7 inches, the OLED is 7.4 inches. The colors on the original deck were really muted, the colors on the OLED are juicy. That's the best way for me to describe an OLED screen. The 256 gig Steam Deck doesn't get very bright, only 400 nits, but the OLED gets significantly brighter at up to 1000 nits. And in my opinion, the most important factor is the fact that the dark scenes actually look decent on the OLED. Shadows are actually dark and black, not light gray like on the LCD Steam Deck. In the display category, the OLED wins hands down, 1-0 for the OLED. Next up is battery. I'm not going to get into the specifics of why the OLED has much better battery, but just know that the physical battery itself is a bit larger, and a combination of the processor and OLED screen make it more efficient, allowing for around a 50% increase in battery life. So for example, if you're playing Hollow Knight or another light indie game on your LCD deck, then you'll probably get around 6 hours of playtime, but on the OLED it'll be closer to 9 hours. That's a pretty big difference, but I doubt you'll be playing a game for 6 hours, let alone 9. So if you mostly plan on playing older AAA games or indie titles, then it really doesn't matter which one you get because it'll last so long. But if you like to play heavier games like that, everyone always uses Cyberpunk as an example, so instead I'm going to use Borderlands 3. So if you like playing more intensive games like Borderlands 3, then the LCD Steam Deck can probably expect to get an hour and a half to 2 hours of battery life. This is where the battery differences really shows though, because if you buy an OLED you can expect closer to 3 hours instead of 1.5 to 2, which unlike the jump from 6 to 9 actually matters. So for the battery category, OLED obviously wins, but depending on what game you want to play, it may not actually matter to you that much. Before we discuss arguably the most important aspect of the device, we need to talk about the performance differences. Ready? They perform virtually the same. The OLED stutters very slightly less because of its faster RAM, but overall there isn't really a major difference. Finally, we are able to talk about the price. If the Steam Deck is on sale, feel free to skip to the next chapter to have a more accurate comparison. Anyway, the base price for each Steam Deck is $400 for the LCD and $550 for the OLED. $150 is a pretty significant price difference, and this is also what likely caused you to click on the video in the first place. This section is going to be pretty short, and that's because it's pretty simple. By now you know about all of the major differences between the two models. I personally think if you're able to buy a Steam Deck, you can probably wait a bit longer to just get the OLED model instead. Storage doesn't really matter that much, as you can just get an SD card or upgrade the SSD directly even. If you don't think the upgrades are worth it, then by all means save your money. Also, just to be clear, my opinion completely changes if there is a sale going on or if refurbished Steam Decks are in stock, so watch this section if that's the case. The LCD model is available currently for $320 right now. It's on sale. Usually it's $400, so there is a pretty decent savings available. The problem is that none of the OLED Steam Decks have ever been on sale before. At all. Ever. So that leaves an even greater price difference than we normally would have to deal with. So if the 256GB LCD is on sale, then my advice is simple. $230 is way too much of an increase to justify the OLED when the LCD can do technically all of the same things, albeit slightly worse. But if there ever is a Steam Deck OLED available in the refurbished section, then that is objectively the right choice.